how other successful business owners use video to increase their sales. And right now, we've scheduled the release of Stomp Revision, the How to Make Videos course.
Hi, everyone. It's Rich Sheffrin here, and I guess somebody was listening to a promotion or a Stomper video. I'm not sure which it was. But anyway, it is 3 p.m., so it's time to start this Q&A call. And if you have a question, you can press *1, and you will be put in the queue. So once again, if you have a question, you can press *1, and you'll be put in the queue. I have a few questions here from the forum, plus I also have some general information, so might as well, or advice kind of stuff. So why don't we start with that, or at least start with that. I've got a lot, actually, that I could share with you, but as I was preparing for some notes for a call that I have to do later tonight, one of the things that I'll be talking about is how to find the problems in a marketplace. And so I thought I would share with you some of the ideas that I just recently put down about how to find the problems in your marketplace. So one of the things that you can do is go to Amazon and type in some of your keyword phrases and see what the best-selling books are. The best-selling book titles sometimes will be titles that actually are targeted towards a problem that people are having. So, like, there's a book on my desk right now that says Keeping Employees Accountable for Results. So, obviously, some business owners have a problem with keeping employees accountable. So that's how you would use that. You could also look at the comments about the book, the best comments and the worst comments for what was missing and what people really liked. And generally, they center around problems that people have or questions people have. And along those lines, really any site that is set up as a question and answer format site is not a bad place to be typing in your keywords to see what problems people have. So here are a few question and answer sites. There's answers.yahoo.com. There's answers.google.com. There's answerbag.com. There's the MSN answer site, which is QnA live.com, QnA.live.com. There's experts-exchange.com. There's wiki.answers.com. There's oyogi, OYOGI.com. There's expertbee, as in expertbee.com. There's Wondir, WONDIR.com. There's askbar.com, which is ASKBAR.com. There's theanswerbank.co.uk. Theanswerbank.co.uk. There's answers.com, and there's allexperts.com. And I'll probably write a blog post at some point with a longer expanded list, but that would be certainly a great place to find the problems of your marketplace by going to the Q&A sites and actually just doing searches under your keywords, because most of the questions that are being asked are problems that people are experiencing. Another place is to take your keyword phrase, put it in quotes, then do a space, and then put in quotes, tell me your, so it would be open quote, tell me your, close quote, and then you would write problem, and then all uppercase or, because when you do all uppercase in Google with or, what you're saying is show me all sites that have this or that, right? So you do problem or challenge or difficulty. And so what you're looking for are sites that have your keyword phrase in it where someone said, tell me your problem or challenge or et cetera. And that's another good way to find the problems that are centered around your business. Another way is to look in forums, and a great way to find those forums is to type in your keyword phrase in quotes, and then space, and then one word, INTITLE, INTITLE, colon, forum. And so it's INTITLE, colon, forum, no space. And so what you're saying is, show me any pages that have this phrase on it where in the title tags of the URL, in the title tags of that page, it says forum. And so that's a great way to find forums. And then another way to find forums is to type in the keyword phrase in quotes, and then instead of saying in title, you type in URL, and then colon forum. And there's no spaces in between those, both in title forum and in URL forum. And so those are some ways. I would say some of the other ways, just real quick, is you could look at the article directories, because most times when people are writing articles, they are addressing certain problems. And another one would be to do an online, ask campaign of some sort if you have a list. So those are just some. Obviously, there's more, but those are some ways to find out the problems. Now, if you've never done that in your market, I strongly suggest that you do. I do that. I don't do it as frequently as I would like, but I probably do it more frequently than most, and I think it's one of the reasons why my reports seem to be very relevant, or my blog posts seem to be very relevant, because I'm aware of what the problems are that people are struggling with, because I'm always looking out for problems. And so that's another point, which is just be on the lookout for problems. And anytime you have a problem, if you're in your marketplace, make sure to write it down. And anytime you come across someone who has a problem that is related to your marketplace, you would want to write those down. So with that said, why don't we take some questions from the queue?
Hey, Rich, it's Paul Ross from Seduction.com. How the hell are you?
Good.
I continue to recommend your program and tell everybody it's by far the best bang for the buck for marketing education. Thank you for it. I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
It's true. It's just objectively, measurably, accurately true. You got a lot of mileage out of your Internet Business Manifesto. Obviously, really, really assisted you. But I don't think you've ever really made it quite clear how you got it out there. How did you get people to read it? How did you get it spread out on the Internet? Because I've written what I feel is the equivalent, but I have no idea how to actually get people to use it or to read it. What was your strategy for getting people to read that business manifesto? Where did you put it up? How did you get it spread and read around?
All right. Couple things. Well, some of it was by accident, but I can even tell you a few of those accidents that kind of made it happen. First off, what we did was we did a launch, and that was the first piece, and so that certainly helped it gain momentum right off the bat because we had affiliates mailing for it.
Got it.
Right, so that gets it out there. Now, we've done in the past, and actually, except for that first launch, every other launch, we actually did the first cookie, which meant that whichever affiliate gets the person on the list first is actually going to get paid. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for most launches, and in fact, our next launch won't be first cookie because while you incentivize getting your piece out there, what happens is that you're not incentivizing people to mail for you on the day you launch, which I think costs you more sales in the long run. So, but the first cookie certainly had the impact of helping things spread, although on the manifesto we didn't do it that way because we didn't have the technology at that time to do it. Another thing that we did, though, well, I think that the image on the front certainly helped. Because it was something that I was told time and time again when I did seminars that was the hook, that like when they saw that was when they made the decision to buy from me. So I used to ask, and this is never a bad question to ask, and you could always ask it like, after someone buys from you on the thank you page, like what was the single biggest reason why you decided to buy today? And what I used to ask people, because when I took my coaching clients, when I spoke at seminars to get coaching clients, was, at what point in the presentation did you decide that you wanted to be in this coaching program? And so that gave me great intelligence on, the factors. And actually, the manifesto is based off of all the answers that I got from that question, right? Because why not? When you said this, that's when I knew I needed to buy this. Well, okay, so let's make sure that this report addresses that. So that was another reason. I also think, and it's harder today by far, but I kind of took it up a notch, and so I changed what was given in a free report, and I changed the way they looked, and I think that had quite a bit to do with it. And then lastly, I think the information, because what ended up happening is that because it was part of a launch, it got out there. Once it got out there, then because it was good, people liked it, and because people liked it, then they started sharing it and blogging about it.
Got it.
And in the long run, we got more traffic actually from non-affiliates than we did affiliates, but I don't know that it would have gotten out there if it wasn't for affiliates in the first place.
Yeah, see, that's just it. I'm really not structured in my business where I can really do affiliates, because most people in my industry either hate me or I don't talk to them, and I don't know that that's going to change. So if I had the equivalent of the business manifesto, but I couldn't use affiliates to get it around, how would you recommend I do it?
Okay, well, a new style that I'm going to be doing relatively soon is to take the report and actually create links in the report for great tools or more stuff that would be free in it. And then the reason I would do that is so that I could actually give the report completely away for free without any opt-in, and then have those links be embedded with affiliate codes so that I could go to people and say, and this is if I were you, and exactly, like if I were you and I had this problem, I would go to I would do exactly what I'm talking about. I would take every section of my report and figure out some cool tool or some cool thing that I could give away, and then I would go. So I would and then create the appropriate things on my site that had those, and have it so that they couldn't get those unless they had registered on the site. And so they would find them, but they would be told that they had to register. And then I would go and I would do a search for every single blog in the space, right? So, I would do like Technorati, and I would type in, dating advice, picking up women, etc. And I would try and find all the best blogs in that space. And then I would go to those bloggers, especially if I saw that they were using AdSense or something like that, and I would say, look, every time someone clicks on your site, one of those links there, one of those AdSense links, you get paid 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. I have a report here that I would love if you would just give it away free. And when you give it away free, you will actually make a lot more money than you would on any of those clicks. And if they're interested, then you'd have to just, you have to create the PDF with their affiliate links in there. And there are programs called affiliate rebranders that would do that automatically.
Got it. So what you're saying is go to like Technorati or Stumble Upon, type in the keywords, find out what the major blogs are, have my marketing assistant go to them and say, look, here's the report. We give it to you, and you're making so much on the AdSense, but when you give away this report, you can embed it with your affiliate links, and you make a lot more money.
Well, we'll embed it for you with an affiliate link.
And what's that program called that does it?
It, I don't know any of the names of the ones, but just look for like affiliate. Look for PDF rebrander.
PDF rebrander. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if you do that, the idea here is that, maybe the major affiliates don't like you, and so it's going to be hard to get those people. But there might be a lot of blogs out there that are written about, picking up women, online dating, dating advice, etc. They don't know you, they don't know your competitors, they don't care. And so those would be the best places to get that report started, to get some in there.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. You're the best.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Cool. Okay. All right, so I guess we answered his question, and he is gone. So we'll take the next question.
Hi, Rich. It's Dan Pfister calling.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. Rich, we're in the middle of a launch right now, and we had to compress the launch so we could do our first kind of pitch, like for the product, before everybody went away for summer holidays.
Right.
So anyway, what we did, that was Wednesday of this week. So
and this is for like the webinars.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Geez, good memory. Okay, so what we did was a week ago Tuesday, we sent out a sample of a webinar, like 15 minutes of this webinar, to our entire list. And within a day, we had about 1,000 viewings of the video, and we had 30 blog posts. And they were each really positive. They said, this was amazing stuff, tremendous, can't wait, to see the next one. And then on Thursday, we put out that first one was on how to have difficult conversations at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because that's what we found leaders need the most, how to say those things that are really important.
Right.
And how to do it properly. Then the next one we did is on team building. And again, just tremendous uptake. Our third one was on influence, and we put that out on on Tuesday, just before the launch. And that was less. But the thing is that we had these great hooks. We made people pay attention. They loved it. They were looking forward to the next thing. And then when we launched, we only got 40 sales. And it's like, I think we dropped the ball somewhere. We did a tremendous amount of surveying and interviewing our people, finding out what their emotional buttons were, what was driving them, the rational buttons, the emotional buttons. We got all that. We thought we got all that. We went over this with Glenn Livingston. That's his expertise. He said, you got it. And then we put this out, and I was just expecting a lot more. We even got a great copywriter to do our sales letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we dropped the ball somewhere, and we've really got to pick it back up again, and I just was wondering if you have any insights into where we could, go to start finding answers. I mean, I'll phone everybody and I'll find out why they bought. I'll survey my list and find out why they didn't buy and what was missing. I'll talk to a bunch of people. But, outside of that sort of thing, what would you suggest?
Well, what I would suggest is that that you probably didn't. When you do a launch, one of the things that you're trying to do is you're trying to tap into a bunch of different psychological hot points:
right.
Anticipation, scarcity, the law of reciprocity, which you did if you gave them the stuff, but maybe that was the only one you did. And so there's all these laws, and actually there's a mind map somewhere on my site where I put the mind map of a book by Kevin Hogan, actually, that I had read on the site, and so for a download as PDF, and so you can find that on my website, and then just kind of look through those and determine, like, did we do this, and if so, how did we do this, and determine whether you really did it or not, and that would be where I would look, because the odds are is that if your launch is disappointing, that somewhere along the lines you didn't hit one of those or most of those.
Okay, well, what I did is I took Jeff Walker's launch program just last month, and
okay.
I thought we hit them all pretty nicely. We gave them we had the reciprocity play, which seemed to work very well. At least they really seemed to like the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was the anticipation. People were asking us when they could. We were telling them they were getting a piece of the video, and they were asking us when they could get the whole thing and everything. We didn't tell them what the price was beforehand to build more anticipation. We did the hook of it's not going to cost $1,200,000. We did all that.
Right.
And
what about scarcity?
The only scarcity play we had was the first 100 buyers get these two things that people told us they wanted in the survey. So
that generally should be somewhat good. What about urgency?
geez, we might not have had the urgency. I mean, we did tell them. We said, look, you've got to, put your order in now, because these 100 might go really fast. And we actually copied. I got a swipe file of people saying this sort of thing. Eben and Jeff and a bunch of people. We said, we don't know if they're all going to sell out in the first hour, but we suggest, you're sitting by your computer, print out the sales letter, what do we call it, the letter, describing everything, right at noon when we launch. And, like what I'm thinking is maybe what we gave them, like the samples that we gave them, made them think that the product wasn't going to give them, really huge, deep insights. Maybe they were such simple things that we gave them. But, because we got such good comments on the blog, you just mentioned Kevin Hogan. He was one of the guys that one of the pieces we did was with Kevin. We only got top people. We got, Kevin is one of the top 2 or 3 influence people out there that we found, and the Crucial Conversations people. They're the top people in the how to have.
Sure, I love those books.
Yeah, and the team building, same thing. Brian Cole Miller. I mean, these are all top of the top people who really understand and have had huge success. And it's
it's either. I mean, it certainly could be that you really have to try and put yourself in your prospect's shoes and just kind of walk through each of those elements and say, where is all this happening? And then, the other thing to look at is if you didn't make that many sales, well, how many people actually came to the page? If a tremendous amount came to the page, then your launch probably worked, but your sales letter didn't. And if you didn't get that many people to the page, then the launch didn't work. And it doesn't really matter about the sales letter. So, you kind of get you need that to know that distinction.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay, that's tremendous because I don't know that right now. Right.
Okay, so because it could be that and then if you got a lot of people to the sales letter and you didn't convert, it could either be the copy wasn't absolutely fantastic, or it could be that the offer wasn't really that fantastic. So it could be one or the other, right? Like, it can't always blame the copywriter.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to. But I was joking around. I'd like to pass the blame off, okay?
Yeah, so, that would be another thing to look at, and then once you have that, the next step, I think, would be once you have clarity, and let's say it's the launch because you didn't get enough people to that sales page, then I would go through, the mind map, or if you have, Kevin's book, you could just kind of walk through each of those chapter heads and see how you did that. And if you think you got it all covered, then, you ask me next week. Either way, actually, you could ask me next week. If it's the sales page, then, try and summarize the offer so that, when we talk about it, you can tell me what the offer is. If you didn't really get that much traffic to the sales page, then take a look at the other and all those other components, and then we'll just have to walk through them. And you'll tell me, what you did for each of those, and I'll tell you where you dropped the ball.
Fantastic. And 2 other quick things, if that's okay?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so right now, where we are right now, we're at about $3 per email in revenue. And I'm thinking when I go out to partners and ask them, to partner with me, part of the pitch was we did this, and hopefully we'll be up to maybe $5 or $6 per email by the end of the launch. So would I go to? So I'm thinking, I'm going to say we did this launch. This is our first kick at the can. We know a lot of things what worked, what didn't work. So they won't have them. But even then, we did say $5 per person. Now, is that compelling for them to get half of $5 per person on their list, or do I have to really get it up more like $10 or $15? Well,
you talking about for every single person on the list, or are you talking about for people who actually clicked and stuff like that?
I'm talking like say I've got 5,000 people I did this mailing to, okay?
Right.
And I made $50,000. So that's $10 per person I made from my list, okay?
Right.
So I go out to somebody who is an association, just for example, or anybody else who has a very similar list to mine, and I say we made $10 per person. We don't know if you'll make that, but this is the only indicator we have right now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first, what I would suggest is that you do it. I don't think anybody has, your list and an association's list is very different.
Right.
Because these people have already expressed an interest.
Right.
So you're going to get a higher amount. But, yeah, I mean, look, I have, about 200,000 people on my list. So, if I could make $10, and get half of that, I'd get $1 million. So that certainly is not, I would do a mailing to make $1 million. So, yeah, it certainly is. But, I would just be careful. I wouldn't roll out to too many people at a time. I would try and actually see if there is, if you have, if you're going to do business with a lot of associations, is there an association that you're particularly close with that, if it weren't all wonderful, the results, it wouldn't really damage the relationship to the point that, it would damage the relationship. And if so, I would do it with them first, so that you could, so that you could kind of see what kind of results, because you don't want to go to all the associations and say that, you can kind of expect this because this is what we got, because there'll be a wide discrepancy, I think. And if there is a wide discrepancy, you've kind of just really damaged your credibility for the next one.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is go through every piece of my process, see where the weak spots are, talk to you about them next week, like what we did and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when we go to associations, even if we have $5, they get half of that $2.50, and their list is fairly similar. We go to somebody who...
if someone has a list of 50,000 people and you're saying that they can make $100,000.
That's compelling, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be stupid here. I'm just trying to say...
Yeah, that's very compelling.
Okay, good. Because I'm just trying to know where's that line that says it's not worth doing a mailing, And so if $2 or $3 is worth doing a mailing, then I'm thrilled. Then the launch is...
Probably even $1. I mean, $1 still... I mean, if you're saying that, it depends on how many emails, but if you're talking about one email and I'm going to send it to my list, I'm going to make $1, per each person on my list, I mean, that's still, for me, that would be close to $200,000 for that one email. I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's great, because our association's list is very close to our list. So, hopefully we improve the sales process. We can get them some decent bucks. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is about, say you've got, I remember at the very beginning of your course you had, you were talking about, or maybe it was your guest, talking about setting up, having people cross-promote within an industry, and how he built a $600 million business out of that, where all these competitors, he got them together to mail to each other to show. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm really gapping.
Yeah. I think you're talking about something that Michael Masterson said about Financial Publishing Association. Yeah.
Right, and so I'm thinking, there's all these people, say, in the Crucial Conversations environment, okay? And they each have their list of 100, 200,000, 1 million people. And because some of them have really put through huge numbers. And how would you pitch them to go and say, this is, let me put it another way. If you've got, one person saying one thing in leadership, another person saying another, but they're not competing, to get these people to give up their list and to go and do something, would you would you say we're going to put on 4 free webinars to all of your lists, and we're going to go and sell your back end to each of these groups, or what's just the core idea behind that? I don't want you to go into too much detail. I'm not I'm asking for another hour of your time or anything.
The easiest way to do it would be to do, in the beginning at least, would be swaps. Just you email for me on something, I'll email for you, and and then it can kind of grow from there. But the idea is that what will happen if people have their own lead flow, then what will happen is exactly what Michael Masterson was talking about. And so we just, I just had a conversation, not yesterday because I was traveling yesterday, but the day before yesterday, and about this very same issue, and that is that a lot of the internet marketing gurus now are getting really serious about building out their funnels, and when they all have built out their funnels, then you could see launches go from a big launch being like, let's say, a $3 or $4 million launch to a $30 or $40 million launch, because there'll be so many more people in the marketplace because everybody's bringing in new people, as opposed to they're just being, the same people kind of being hit from 20 different sides. And so it's the same kind of concept here, and that ultimately, instead of trying to create like a bigger organized approach, which might be difficult, especially at first, is to try and see if you can kind of do it on a partner-by-partner basis. If you do it on a partner-by-partner basis, then I think it'll be easier, and you'll be the direct beneficiary of that as well.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Rich. Greatly appreciate your help.
Oh, no problem. All right, let's take the next question.
Hey, Rich, Jim McCarthy.
Hey, Jim.
How are you?
I'm very good.
A couple of quickies. First of all, I want to check and see how you're doing with the Prometheus read.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I'm just, because I keep getting swamped with stuff, but it's on my list, so hopefully I'll get it, before the point of no return for you. But yeah, it's just I'm doing such a ridiculous amount of reading right now for stuff that I got to get done. So
yeah, I appreciate that, absolutely. I know I got to your urgent pile, so I suppose that's in progress, definitely. Quick question for you. How familiar are you with the StomperNet video course, and would you recommend it?
Not at all familiar with it. I think it's done by Mike Stewart. So, the only thing that you have to be cautious of is if you're trying to learn how to do videos the way Stomper does videos, then I think you'd be disappointed, because Mike Stewart doesn't do videos like Stomper, right? I mean, Andy is, one of the partners of Stomper, has won a whatever you win in film. I don't think it's an Oscar, but something. And Mike Stewart has not. And Mike Stewart's videos don't look like Stomper's videos, but it is Mike Stewart who's teaching this course. So if you are looking to the basics of how to get started with video and that kind of stuff, it probably could be a good course. Mike knows his stuff, but if you're trying to do videos like Stomper does videos, then like I said, I think you'd be disappointed.
Yeah, I guess I'm not absolutely at the beginner, because I have Camtasia. I've done a couple of talking heads and the PowerPoint ones, but I was just wondering if there was some really interesting stuff in that program that might be worthwhile, because it's a little bit pricey.
I think it's more, I don't know what's in the course, but I know it's Mike Stewart, so I think it's much more like if I were you, I was trying to make this decision, I would take a look at Mike Stewart's stuff, I'm sure he has a blog or a website, and just kind of see what he's talking about, see what he's offering, and then you can pretty much assume that whatever that is, he's doing something similar in the Stomper program.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, absolutely. By the way, thank you for your answer on the Internet Marketing Manifesto, because that's a part of my launch, too, and that was kind of interesting to hear your discussion about that.
Cool.
Launch is not going to happen probably till near the end of July, so there's still time. I know you're going to enjoy this. I'll keep plugging away at you.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Rich, it's Howard. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Howard?
Good. I went back to the transcript from the call from June 4th, where you were talking about how you were using your Outlook and regarding your email. And, it's probably very simple, but I'm just not really getting it. So I have it in front of me now, your PDF as well as my Outlook. So from what I understand, you basically have 3 folders that are archives, and everything goes into those 3 folders, or everything shows up in one folder?
Well, the ideal scenario is to have one archive folder, period. I'm not that good. So I have, some subfolders, but not a lot. I used to have a tremendous amount. Now I don't have as many, anywhere near as many.
Yeah, because I got 40 different folders,
Right.
So how do you? So everything comes into what, your inbox?
Right. Everything comes into my inbox, and then there is, in my inbox, there's, I use the @ sign to get it towards the top. It's like
right.
@4Kristen,
right?
Because that's my assistant. So if anything I want her to take care of, I just move it over there. @4Rich, which is things I have to take action on.
Right.
And then let's see, and then and then for Rich, underneath that I have archive, and what else do I have here? Hold on. Yeah, see, I have archive, follow up, and waiting to delete. I also have another folder, but I don't think you'd have that. It's called Checkout When Online, because a lot of times, like, I'll actually go through all my emails when I'm not online. I have my computer in front of me, but I'm working offline.
Okay, so
like on a plane or something. So
right.
Someone's like, hey, check this out, and then tell me what you think, and it's a link. I can't look at it right now, so that would be why it would be there. It would go into check out while online.
Oh,
but I could also just put it on follow up too.
All right, so everything comes into your inbox, and do you cherry pick and move clusters of emails into each of those folders?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have rules set up, or because you don't know if an email comes in, you may not know what you want to do.
Well, yeah, and you got to remember that this is an account that I've never used for an opt-in. When somebody, like a friend, all of a sudden includes it in a, as an affiliate email, I call them and tell them, take my address off of that. This is all emails that I'm getting that need to be addressed, right? There's no info on any of it. These aren't, there's no emails coming in here that's something that just would be interesting to read.
Mm-hmm. I see. So you've already...
That's a whole other email box. Because that has nothing to do with email as much as, that there's nothing so urgent that I got to read it that's from anything I've ever opted in for, right?
Right. Now, I'm sucking in a few different emails into my email folder. And,
okay, yeah. So what I do is, like the Richard at Sheffrin one, I have a folder that is, that for like a rule for that everything that's addressed to that goes into that.
Right.
Right. So, right now there's about 1,200 emails there.
Holy.
And and that's only like 2 days. I go through that, but I go through it maybe once a week.
Right.
And when I go through that, that's where there's just a hodgepodge of stuff, and eventually I want to get client communications out of that email box so that I can actually have a separate address for that, so that it can actually hit my personal account as opposed to that one. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of how I do that. And then the whole idea, though, is save searches, and that's the big thing.
Right.
And and that's actually pretty cool, because a save search, sometimes you get an email, and if you have lots of folders, you're not even sure which folder to put it in, because maybe it applies to two different things. Right. So.
Right.
So now, if it's a save search, it's easy to find, to go back and find that email.
I see. All right. Well,
and you can do save search anytime you do a search in Outlook, you can save that search.
Now you're talking I have an X. I have two.
Doesn't matter which one.
Okay.
You can save it.
Okay. All right. I noticed.
So for every folder that you have, you could just do a saved search, and then put all of those in an archive. Put all the emails in an archive, and it's like having the folder, because you're pulling up everything that's related to it. If there's whatever the commonality that all these emails have, but it won't slow you down when you're going through them.
Right. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for me, emails kind of go into my inbox. They get sorted if it's for me or for Kristen. Then if it's for me and it needs action, right, then it's going in that for Rich. Then as I go through those, I'm answering those. When I'm answering them, if I'm waiting for, if it's something actually that I can't answer right now, but I need to, then I'm going to either leave it in that box, or I'm going to put it in for follow-up. And it kind of just, I have my own rules for that. But, you could just say leave it in that box. But I kind of like to take things out of the box that I've looked at, so I know that I don't make the same mistake of looking at it again. And if it's something I've answered, but I want to make sure that something happens, then I put that in waiting for delete. And so basically, I'll go into waiting for delete like once a week, and I'll just kind of take a look at like those emails and ask questions about certain things that just want to make sure happens.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I have one more quick question. What do you think about the opt-in scripts that are out now, where and Mike used it recently on his seven-figure report launch, where it does like Facebook and it sucks up people's their address books and different services like Gmail or Yahoo.
Right. I think if you don't get negative blowback, it's fantastic. Because when it works, it's insane. I don't know if there has
him in the marketing community. Did you get any feedback from him?
No, you know what? I didn't. I asked him, but I can ask him and just ask me next week, and I'll have the answer. Okay.
And anything you want to report from Jeff's hoedown there in Las Vegas?
Yeah, hold on a second. Like about add a friend. Suck up. Let's see. Yeah, it's always good to meet lots of people that are in your market, or see lots of people that are in your market for no other reason than to just kind of know what people are working on. Let's see. I took a lot of notes that are appropriate to me.
Did you take notes during the mastermind session, or?
Well, it wasn't really a mastermind session. It was really just a laid-back get-together.
Okay.
So, I think, unfortunately, most of the stuff, there's not like this general stuff. Most of the stuff that I took notes on, I took a lot of notes, but I was asking people questions that I thought would be, that they would have an answer to, that I wanted to have an answer to. So, at the end of the day, I think that, because there was nothing general, it's hard to kind of like report back, but what's interesting is that, to me, I guess, is that I spent a lot of time with Yarrow and Copyblogger, and just kind of talking about their market. Yarrow kind of straddles both. Copyblogger is more of the Web 2.0 space, right, and just kind of talking about like the differences, the similarities, et cetera, which was, interesting for me to kind of get a sense of, and just what what kind of hooks will work there versus here. And I guess maybe one of the big ones would be that there it's the same hook, really, but it's just presented differently. Whereas we're here in the Internet marketing community, it's about make more money. In the Web 2.0 space, they don't really say, like, make X millions of dollars. What they do is talk about lifestyle. So the lifestyle claims.
Right.
To seem less kind of vulgar, I guess.
Yeah, it's the perception of marketers on the social networks and the blogging community is kind of amazing. It's comical. My wife in the divorce niche, she's sort of been contributing content to one of these large divorce sites. Meanwhile, they have, they pay some bloggers, and they're allowed to put links to their sales materials, and they have banners all over the place. But God forbid someone that contributes content as an expert on a frequent basis puts a link, and then one person complains, and it's like there's a whole uproar, and it's like comical.
Yeah, well, that's the world. People don't like marketers.
Yeah. All righty, great. Thank you very much.
No problem, Howard. All right,
All right.
take the next question.
Hi, Rich. This is John McDermott from Angel Fire.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Rich, this is a question about Catherine's art gallery. She's got a kind of a new aspect to her business. She's been able to broker some high-value art. I mean, like R.C. Gorman, Miguel Martinez, Andy Warhol. I mean, high-value art. But she wants not to send information to her whole list. She wants to target and find information that she doesn't have, like how to get a hold of Michael Masterson and people like that who are collectors but, have a lot of money. And those people generally don't do business on the Internet, so, for art. So she's not sure how to reach those people. You got any ideas?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if you know who the people are, then you could just call their offices and get their address and send them something.
Well, she knows a few people, like that, but not a whole lot of them. That's part of the problem.
Then the other component would be to think about what kind of list could they be on and see if there's a JV to be done. And that's really, other than those two ways, there's really not that many other ways, except maybe, I guess you could say that if there were forums that kind of related to that kind of stuff, that that if someone was on that forum, they would have the capacity, then you could also kind of do it that way. But really, I think at the end of the day, like if you don't have access to a lot of those people, then the only way that could work is really through, you could also do advertising, but let's assume that you can't, just budget-wise, then the only other way would be through JVs. And to give you an example, and I don't want to get your hopes up, with this example, but I know, I had a couple clients that did JV, that sold jewelry, that did JVs with Agora, for Valentine's Day. Since most of the people, on certain lists were men, and the jewelry catered to women, they actually, created some kind of heart pendant or something or whatever, and actually did it as a Valentine promo, and then Agora ran it, to certain lists, obviously prior to Valentine's Day.
Interesting.
So, the idea is think about where those people are, then think about, what could you use to bridge the connection. If it's not
an
art list, let's say.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. That's something we can try and target. She's been doing a lot of the stuff that you've suggested both here and in the Maven program, and she's doing phenomenally well now that people are finding out that she can broker this stuff.
Cool.
But she's got to find the right customers now.
Yeah.
Kind of tapped out.
So the idea is to think about, with jewelry, the natural hook, to go to places that maybe have lots of men that are not necessarily subscribing to a jewelry list is to put it in front of them at a time when they're thinking, oh, yeah, that would be a good idea. I could buy that for, this. And so same thing, if you can you won't obviously have a holiday like that, but you might have you might be able to put together a report, pay a researcher or whatever, as art as an investment, or actually I'm sure there are probably some newsletters that relate to investing in art and non financial type stuff. And so that's the first place to start. And then even though there's the financial industry in general, so then if you could think of maybe some kind of report or something like that is about investing in art, then as an investment and what types, and then you can kind of include stuff about the art that you currently have or a page, then there might be a tie in there. And I'm sure if you thought about it more, you'd probably come up with some better ideas even than that.
That's a really good start. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. All right. Cool. All righty. So that is that's all the questions I had in the queue. So I'm going to I have two questions here in front of me from the forum. And I know as we're changing around times and dates, it's always kind of challenging for people to kind of plan in advance. I know that we gave people a lot of heads up on this one, but I'm not too disappointed with the amount of questions that we've gotten. So if you have a question, though, go ahead and press star one. I've got these two questions from the queue, and I will answer – not from the queue, from the forum, rather. I will answer these, and then I'll give you another piece of something that I've been thinking about, working on, et cetera, and a whole bunch of questions came in, so I guess that's not an issue. All right, so the first question I have is, hey, Rich, I have a site that's bringing in some visitors, but it's nothing to brag about. Can you share some resources and ideas to help me increase my traffic to my website? Thanks. Okay. Yeah, there's about a gazillion things you could do. I don't know what you're already doing, and so that's the challenge. I mean, if you don't have a blog, a blog would certainly be something to start with, because a blog will, allow you to do a lot of other things. All right, I don't know if you're doing SEO already or not. I don't know if you're embracing in social media, like, Stumble Upon and becoming a user of Stumble Upon, and then actually submitting your stuff to Stumble Upon. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but it really, the bigger question is what are you already doing? What market are you in? And then I could give you a much better answer, because for me to rattle off just like 100 things that, someone could do to get traffic, it's kind of not worth it, because I don't know, you're going to be left with the same question, well, which one should I do? And I can't really tell you which one you should do until I know what you're selling and what you're already doing. And then it will be much easier for me to tell you how to get the right type of visitor for you to actually use. And so with that said, let me take this other question here that I have in front of me from the forum, and then we'll take some of these questions that I see here in front of me and in the queue. All right, so it says, hi, Rich, Scott Wilson here from New Zealand. I'm really getting a lot of your programs, so thank you very much for putting it together. I have a business that helps brick-and-mortar businesses owners develop their online marketing strategy. My question is in relation to writing a report manifesto for the market. Can you explain the process you go through when writing a report? How do you start, and what's the thinking behind the whole process? Also, can you explain the concept of selling big ideas, as I heard you mention it on a DVD, and would like to hear more information about this. All right. When I write a report, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to address the problems in the marketplace. And so, it all starts with knowing what the problems are in the marketplace, and that's why those the question and answer type sites are so useful, to make sure that I have a valid understanding of what the problems are in the marketplace. I always write my report catering to that, and that's really where it all starts. The other component that I take that takes a lot of time and thinking is really looking at what's happening in the world as it relates to what's happening with those problems. And then lastly, looking at those problems as a group, is there any kind of deeper thing going on that would cause all those problems? And so that's kind of the process. And then what I'll generally do is start looking at how does this need to be presented in a way that makes sense, and then I'll generally, from that point, what I'm doing is I'm actually drawing lots of diagrams. And the reason I'm drawing lots of diagrams is that I'm trying to see the connection between all of these different things. So I might have a list of the problems. I'll put some of those problems in boxes, and then I'm trying to see, like, okay, well, can I sort these into groups or what have you? And so I do a lot of brainstorming and then diagramming to try and get clear in my head what's going on. And then the report is kind of the verbal output of that whole process. And so that's kind of the process that I work through. And, the most important part, obviously, is the problems, understanding the problems of the marketplace. And so, on the left-hand side, you have the problems of the marketplace. On the right-hand side, you have the solution that you're offering, and how do the report is supposed to tie those two together. And so if you think of it that way, that kind of should give you a barometer of how good of a job you're doing in creating your report. And so that's kind of the concept there. All right, let's take another question. If I hung up on somebody, I apologize, so you can just get back in. All right, who's this?
Hello, Rich?
Yep.
Rich, okay. I didn't know if it was me, and I'd have done a little odd. Keith Carberry, how are you?
Good.
Just want to, I'm trying to, I have an appointment with the attorney on Tuesday. Just real quick, I've got that large group that's kind of international that we're trying to form.
Yep,
the
butterfly.
Yeah, the butterfly
right,
thing. I'm just trying to figure out if there are any questions that you think that I should be asking my attorney. And again, I'm going to the attorney on behalf of the whole group, and it is international, and I just don't know what kind of questions I might want to pose to him that he might not ask me. He is an international corporate attorney, so he probably knows quite a bit, but I just don't want – my fear is obviously getting taken the wrong way, and I've got having this group here, I don't want to cause us a lot of problems.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not familiar enough with everything to generate a list of questions. So what I would do if I were you is I would list out what are all the potential problems that you're worried about before you go into that meeting. And by doing so, then you'll have a more intelligent way of having the discussion with the attorney about how can we prevent these things.
Right. Okay.
And then I might, I probably would actually. I would talk to the other people in the group and think about what other problems could happen, and not how can we avoid them. Just let's all think about all the problems, and I'll kind of get them all and categorize them, so that when I talk to the attorney, I make sure that I've done everything that we needed to worry about.
Right. We're doing two things. We have a meeting. We have conference calls every other day, and but we'll mention that tomorrow. I'll bring up the problems that I'd like to get a list from them that they might see. In addition to that, the attorney has also agreed to obviously speak with us in a conference call format so that everybody feels comfortable with what he has to say. Now, my fear is that it could get pretty expensive, it being taxes, international tax situations, and all that kind of fun stuff.
It probably will, and then then it'll be a cost-benefit kind of thing, and you'll have to determine whether it's really worth it. But
right. Well, it's getting pretty exciting in one sense, and if it does get cost crazy, we'll all agree just to be affiliates of the group and we'll pay out dividends or something. I don't know, but we're trying to figure out obviously the best way that's cost-effective and to make us the most amount of money. But it is getting a little crazy. It's getting pretty exciting. We've got a couple mid-level internet marketers on board, I think our concept of bringing in the top 5 producers over the next 60 days once we go live in a week or so, becoming owners.
I think that is it's a good idea. I'm glad you're making progress. Cool.
Well, I hope so. So, thank you for your information, and we'll list all the problems, and hopefully we'll get somewhere with this.
Okay, cool.
All right,
thanks. Soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Rich, Don Brailsford, how are you?
Good. How are you, Don?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have been moving forward on my program with these small business owners and working with them and essentially trying to create local marketing groups, if you will, or entrepreneurial groups. And I've got about 100 different folks around the country who are ready to get started. I made a big mistake. These folks are all basically salespeople. And I made a big mistake trying to teach them to be marketers. and that was like trying to teach a pig to sing. It wastes your time and it annoys the pig.
Right.
So I simplified my my approach and said, you know what? Forget all that. We'll deliver that. We'll deliver all the marketing knowledge to the group. The back end, that'll come directly from me or from us. Just get the people to get involved. Just commit the people to the program. And I set up a couple contests for members and stuff. But I was wondering if you had any particularly good methods for getting people to initiate on something that natural reticence to a lot of people have to step off into the unknown. You know, the early adopters, the early adopters, and the other ones, opinion leaders type people. You know, I need these guys to be willing to go out and do something before it's been proven, you know, in every place, and then, you know, all the competition's in place. You know, you try to deliver something unique. And
so the action that you're trying to get them to do is what?
I'm trying to get them to start engaging and recruiting people to join their groups. And they're, you know, you've got the usual. You've got Pareto's principle. 20% of the guys are stepping off and getting going, and the rest of them are sort of all mulling around. And they have, you know, they love to come up with, you know, they all love to come up with, I've got this excuse why I'm not going yet. Now I have great, training calls, I have great involvement on all that, but it's the how do I kick them out of the nest and get them going? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, one is just to not have unrealistic expectations. There's probably going to be a lot of people that, at the end of the day, aren't going to take action no matter what.
Right.
No matter how, you know, beneficial it is for them to do it, because that's just, you know, the reality of human beings. The other is to figure out a way, and let's say that hypothetically that all of these people greatly respect you and would love to talk to you a little bit more, or have you look at their business and give them some advice or whatever to help them get started. Then what you can do is you can incentivize people telling you about their success stories, the guys that are actually, the men and women that are actually doing something,
right,
by submitting, their results. And the ones with the best results will get, you know, let's say a 15-minute or a 30-minute or a 60-minute, makeover with you or whatever. And then the idea being is that you could then take that and send that great story out to everybody else as a way of incentivizing them to get going.
Yeah, we're on the same track. I've already started collecting the testimonials and the outcomes for the folks that are going. And the funny thing is, the people that are doing what I'm telling them to do are having phenomenal results. And it really is. I mean, the 20% that are engaging tremendously. The rest of them are well, I mean, you know, maybe that's all I'm going to get. I guess I just.
Well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, what you have to do is you have to send those out, right? So you have to send those success stories out to the other people and be like, look, here is what will happen for you if you take action.
Right.
And then you could always have at the bottom, like, you know, if this still doesn't, you know, if this still doesn't, like, get you excited enough to start acting, then tell me why. Tell me what's stopping you, and just have a blog post that, you know, where people can post their comments as to why, and, you know, you'll get a lot of great insight, and then you'll know what else you need to hit to get them going.
Tell me what you think about this idea. One of the things that I told that I've done is I've taken that group of high performers. And I have asked them, split them up, you know, with a list of folks. They're all now fully engaged. They now truly understand how, you know, what the big possibility is for them. And I've asked them to call the other people and have that conversation as an, you know, offer assistance, you know, because the idea is that we all get strong as this program grows. It's stronger for everybody, in the way we have it designed. And
right.
So the idea is, first of all, that most of these people before have had the ability to access me directly.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're going to see, there's a layer of somebody else between them, because this person, and the thing I've instructed them to say is, because I've been very active, Don asked me to call you.
Right.
Meaning I've spoken to Don, and he asked me to call you and ask you what was going on and see if I could offer any help, because there's no way he can talk to everybody individually. That's sort of my.
That's a great idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I frankly, it's just nothing frustrates you more than to look at somebody and say, if you push this button like I told you, the candy would come out. And they look at it and they go, yeah, but I don't know if I want to push the button.
Well,
it's the downside.
They want the upside, but some people just won't do the work, and that's just the reality.
Yeah, you're right. But I was just hoping you had some magic pill or some book or something that.
Well, the other thing is that you can kind of take a look, and this would be the only other thing that probably I would recommend is to kind of tease them through it. So sometimes when someone asks me a question, even on these Q&A calls, like I don't lay out all the steps.
Right. Make them figure it out.
Well, no. I'll give them the first step.
Right.
And then I'll say, after you've done that, come back and tell me, where you're at, and and then we can take it further.
Right.
And that's, for two reasons. One, just out of respect for everyone on the call, like,
sure, I don't
not going to be useful. But two, like, I've just learned over time that, there's no reason to give out 7 steps if the person hasn't taken a step yet. You're better off giving them 1 step, and then giving them a reason to, whether it's their quest for knowledge or they really are doing it, give them another reason why, just give them another reason to do it, right?
Right.
So you can kind of do that. Like, you could kind of say, okay, we've got about X number of great strategies to still tell you, but I've decided that I am not going to tell everyone these strategies. They're too powerful. The more people that use it, the less powerful it is. And quite frankly, if you're not willing to do the work, then I don't see what benefit it is to even tell you about it. So, we're only going to give this to people who are actually taking action. And then if there's some way that you can monitor it, it would be another added, like, well, God, I don't want to miss out on those. Okay, let me get started. Right? It's like trying to create some urgency and a reason that the work needs to get done now. Because, at the end of the day, a lot of people procrastinate. Even when it's something that they really want, they don't take action because they just end up putting it off. And so anything that you can do to kind of increase the tension and urgency of something generally will get you better compliance and action. And so that's why, like, creating some reason why it's got to be done now as opposed to tomorrow is always a good thing, because most things will be put off till tomorrow, and then the next day put off again for the next day and next day and next day.
Sure.
And lo and behold, nothing gets done. So the flip side of that is that might be the stick. The carrot would be like, do these 2 things, prove it some way, and I'll give you why.
Right.
Right. So, like, an example of that is that I did this interview that I think is up in the member section, but isn't yet online, on a blog. And I was talking to one of the guys on our team today, and I was saying, let's do this. Let's set up an email address for this book, and what we'll do is anybody that registers for this guy's site, anyone who registers, when they get the confirmation, if they send the confirmation to us, we'll send them my notes or send them this and them that. And so I'm trying to get them to take a step. And so with that first step, I'm going to reward you by giving you this.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of that? That's the carrot. What do you think of stick versus carrot? Or what should the balance be? Because you got to have a stick.
The stick always ends up working better, but the problem is that you don't want to use a stick that ends up hurting you long term. And so that's the challenge,
Right.
Carrots never seem to hurt you. Sticks can. It's like, when you rot, it's like, buy this today because the price tomorrow is going up. Mm-hmm. Well, that will get a lot of people to buy, but then tomorrow you got to raise the price.
Right.
And then, you're going to
buy it today and get the bonus, though, doesn't commit you to maybe pricing yourself out of the market.
Right.
Yeah. I guess the thing, well, my experience, built several businesses, and I've always been an almost all carrot guy, and just like what I found, has been that,
most people are motivated the other way.
Yeah,
that's why they are where they are.
Yeah, people, at some point they need to know that, even if they bring it on themselves, even if you lay it out that there's, that the hammer does drop, and the occasional public hanging is necessary to keep the peace, and to keep the population in order. And I hate doing it, but you look at it and go, I've done practically everything for you. What else can I do?
It's just reality.
Yeah.
It's just reality, and so you got to use both, because if everybody was just motivated by and this is everybody. It's not one person or another. I mean,
sure.
Everybody in general is much more motivated by sticks than carrots. Most people would like to, have an amazing body, but they have probably a much higher chance of actually sticking to a diet when their doctor tells them, like, hey, if you don't change, you're going to be dead.
Right.
You have a heart. So that's kind of the idea. And you just got to use both. And in any marketing message, the idea is to have both.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So.
And this is a management message, but it's still marketing because you got to market to your employees to do what you want to do.
It's everything. There's just not with everything in life. There's just you got to do both.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Appreciate your input.
Cool. All righty. So let's see here. All right. So I'm going to share just a different thought that I've been kind of noodling around, and then we will call it a call. It'll be over a little early, which is always a good thing. All right, so there is, I think what I currently see going on, not what I think I currently see going on, what I do see currently going on, and what I think about it, is that a lot of people are extremely, extremely busy, but are they really busy with the right things? And the bigger question is that the bigger insight to always be aware of is that there is no value to being busy. Busyness has no implicit value, and that there's a great quote by Og Mandino, who wrote I think The Richest Man in Babylon and The Richest Salesman in the World and all those kinds of books. But he wrote another book called Secrets for Success and Happiness, and he said, in that book, he said, the greatest difference between those who succeed and those who fail does not consist in the amount of work done by each, but in the amount of intelligent work. Many of those who feel most I can't even pronounce it, ignominiously do enough to achieve grand success, but they labor haphazardly at whatever they are assigned, building up with one hand to tear it down with the other. And the concept here is that, we're all busy. Everybody is. But are you busy with the right things? And so here is a way of looking at what you're doing and some questions to ask yourself about being busy. And some are kind of life in general. Some are about your business. What do I lose when I'm permanently busy? And, kind of the answer to that question is you want to list what goes first whenever you are busy, such as time for yourself, clarity of vision, inner well-being, personal development, time with your relationships, having fun, relaxation, etc. Not planning, not learning more about your market, etc. What would I do if I were not this busy? Is your permanent busyness really about your purpose, or is it about something else? Maybe an avoidance. To be successful, you have to, kind of identify what those key measures are that you're trying to accomplish, and then, kind of determine, like, everything that you're doing, is it really taking you closer to that goal? And along those lines, it's something that is really important for entrepreneurs to do, is to really get clear about why they are an entrepreneur in the first place. Because there are many reasons to be an entrepreneur, to be your own boss and have that freedom, to make lots of money, to get recognition, or be famous, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons. And the clearer you are about your reasons, then the clearer it always is to kind of see, is what I'm doing really serving my business and serving what I want to get out of the business? A great question to ask yourself is, and it's hard to sometimes give yourself that honest answer, but is, what is my busyness helping me to avoid? It can be a very convincing excuse, to be busy as a reason why you're not facing up to some current challenge or some certain truth that you just would like to avoid. What is my busyness defending me against? And then ultimately, the big question is how can I be less busy and more successful? And if you've never really thought about that, well, then it's no shock that you're as busy as you are. So the idea is how can I be less busy and more successful? What would it look like? There is a very big difference between working hard and working hard on the right things. And ultimately, your success will be a factor of both what you're working, how hard you worked and whether you or not you worked on the right things. And I think, the first step, which was just what we were talking about, is, most people aren't willing to do the work. But what's a crying shame is that the people that are willing to do the work do not do the right work. And that becomes probably the biggest disappointment that you could think of, because the effort is there, the energy is there, and yet because of some errors in thinking, or because there was no time spent thinking, the results aren't there. And that is obviously not what you want, and it's very important to look at to look at what are you trying to accomplish. And because I got kind of onto this, and I've been thinking about this, because what I'm noticing is that people try and save time every which way that they can. But what do they do with that saved time? Well, generally just more of the same. So, some of the questions you can kind of look at in your life are some of these questions that I just mentioned. If you multitask when you're on the phone, if you multitask while driving, if you skim important stuff, if you've done all three of those in the last 7 days, what did you do with the time that you saved? And generally, it's more of the same. And that's a problem, because if you're consistently saving time by not focusing completely on what you're doing so that you can then spend more time not completely focused on what you're doing, you don't ever have those really high leverage, very important actions that will bring you to success. And so the concept is that just like you can't ever really say that, when I'm done with X, Y, and Z, when there's nothing on my plate, that's when I'll do, this thing, because there is never going to be a time that there is nothing on your plate. You have to really kind of look at where is your time going and what are you doing about it, and really make sure that you're spending your time on the most important things. Because I think most people kind of confuse adrenaline with purpose, and their busyness is kind of a facade of they're not spending the time thinking about the things that really ultimately they need to be thinking about. And so that's what I just wanted to leave you with. So with that said, have a wonderful week. I'll see you on the next call. And like I said at the beginning of this call with that tip for the sites of where all these people ask questions, if you've never really looked at the questions that the people are asking in your market, you're paying a very big price. You see, that's one of those important things that's not urgent. And when you're busy in general, you're working on a lot of urgent but not as important things. And that only changes when you start making some space and time for the important. So with that, have a great week, and I will speak to everyone next week.